And look, Jared Gibson went to sleep on a Tuesday night feeling pretty good about his life. He had money in the bank, he had some bills to pay, normal person, a responsible citizen. He woke up Wednesday morning to find $3,084 gone, vaporized, drained from his checking account, like someone pulled the plug in a bathtub full of cash. So naturally, he calls his bank, Chase. He assumes, wrongly, that this is a standard oopsie in the banking matrix. He thinks, hey, no big deal. It's fraud. They'll fix it. They've got insurance for this type of stuff, right? And Chase looks at the transaction, looks at Jared, and effectively says, denied. Looks authorized to us. Have a nice life living in a cardboard box. They hung him out to dry, all because Jared made one fatal, catastrophic financial mistake. He wasn't gambling in Vegas. He wasn't buying crypto from a guy named Satoshi Steve in a Telegram chat. His mistake was that he wasn't using a credit card. He was using a debit card. And that one jagged little piece of plastic almost cost him all of it. If you have a debit card in your wallet right now, I want you to take it out. Go ahead, I'll wait. I want you to look at it. Really look at it. And then I want you to put it somewhere where it's really inconvenient to use. Because in 2026, using a debit card is the financial equivalent of driving down the freeway at 80 miles an hour without a seatbelt, while juggling chainsaws, blindfolded. It is unnecessary, it is dangerous, and frankly, it's stupid. I haven't swiped a debit card in more than 5 years, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. You see, the banks have pulled off a magnificent trick. They didn't have to convince you that cash is king. They just let you believe the old school propaganda that credit is for people who can't manage money. And while you were busy trying to be responsible, they slipped a plastic Trojan horse into your wallet, the debit card. They made it the default setting on every checking account. They made it feel safe, but that's a lie. You see, when you swipe a debit card, you are taking all the risk. When you swipe a credit card, the bank takes all the risk. It's why they never use their own money for anything, but they are perfectly happy watching you risk yours. And that realization is exactly why I stopped using debit cards. It's a setup, and you're the mark. And I have the receipts to prove it. Here are the 7 reasons why using your own money, it's a sucker's game, and how to force the banks to pay for your lifestyle instead. Let's start with the nightmare scenario. Let's say a hacker gets your credit card number. They go to Best Buy. They buy 500 flat screens. You see the charge. You call American Express and you say, hey, I didn't buy 500 TVs. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. Federal law, specifically the Fair Credit Billing Act, says your liability is capped at $50. $50, that's it. And usually it's zero. Amex just wipes it off. It never touches your bank account. But when your debit card gets hacked, you enter a different legal dimension. You enter the Thunderdome. The Electronic Funds Transfer Act of the EFTA says that if you don't report that fraud within 2 business days, your liability jumps to $500. But wait, it gets worse. If you happen to be on vacation or in the hospital or just busy living your life and you miss the 60-day reporting window, you lose everything. Unlimited liability. The bank can legally say, sorry, you took too long. We're keeping the money. Jared Gibson lost $3 grand because the rules for debit are designed to protect the bank, not you. They built a tripwire under your checking account, and they didn't even tell you it was there. Here's the secret the wealthy know. It is the fundamental difference between being rich and just getting by. When a credit card gets hacked, the thief stole the bank's money. Banks don't like losing money. They will fight like a demon possessed to get that money back. They have armies of lawyers. They have software that tracks spending patterns in microseconds. But when a debit card is hacked, the thief stole your money. And suddenly, the bank isn't in such a rush. They say, we'll investigate, give us 10 days or so, maybe 45. Meanwhile, your rent is due on the 1st. This is why you want to fight with the bank's money, not yours. You want a firewall. You want a moat. And that is why I built and continue to build a war chest of unsecured credit lines. I don't expose my liquidity in cash where it can be stolen, frozen, or skimmed by a gas pump in New Jersey. I utilize my liquidity in unsecured credit lines. I'm talking $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 limits. If a hacker steals that, it's Wells Fargo's problem. It's Chase's problem. It's certainly not my problem. I sleep like a baby. So if you don't have a war chest of credit yet, take a look at fallbackfunds.com. They'll scan your profile in about 30 seconds, no social security number required. In fact, you don't even have to talk to anyone to see how much they're going to give you. And these lines, most of them are 0% interest for now. Go check your eligibility. For sure, do it before you swipe that debit card again. Back to Jared. When his debit card was hit, his checking account was drained. Zero balance. You know what happens next? His mortgage check bounced. His electric bill bounced. His insurance payment bounced. Now he has NSF fees. He has late penalties. His credit score takes a hit because he missed a payment. He's essentially paralyzed. When my credit card gets hit, I get a text. I reply, no, they locked the card. They send me a new one via FedEx overnight. My actual money, my mortgage money, is sitting safely in a high-yield savings account, untouched. Debit fraud freezes your life. Credit fraud just freezes a piece of plastic. One is an inconvenience, the other can be a catastrophe. So here's the thing about debit cards. Every time you swipe debit, you get zero credit history. You could spend $1 million on a debit card over 10 years, and the credit bureaus will look at you and say, who's this guy? You are invisible. And in this economy, being invisible is expensive. Swiping credit builds the score. It builds the history. It builds the credibility that lets you buy the rental property later. It gets you the lower insurance rates. It gets you the best terms on a car loan. Using debit is like working a 20-year career entirely under the table. You did the work, you paid the bills, you spent the money, but when you walk into a bank to get a mortgage, your financial resume is completely blank. You have no proof of existence, no proof of your responsibility. Using credit puts every single dollar you spend on your permanent record in a good way. So get the credit. And then there's this. Credit cards pay me, literally pay me. I get 2 to 3% cash back to buy groceries. I get free flights. I get hotel upgrades. Aside from the risk, using a debit card is like literally taking a voluntary pay cut. If you spend $50,000 a year on expenses and you use a debit card, you just flushed $1,000 down the toilet. Why? To feel safe? You're not safe. You're just poor. Now, this one is my favorite. It's called the float. When I buy a coffee today on credit, I don't pay for it today. I pay for it in 30 days. That means for 30 days, my cash is still in my pocket. Actually, it's in a high-yield savings account earning 4% interest. I use Wealthfront. I'll put a link in the description below for you. And if you use it, we both get an extra 0.5% in interest. The point is, my cash is in my account and I am using the bank's money for free. I am arbitraging the bank's own capital against them. Multiply that by $100,000 in annual business expenses, and that's real money. That is inflation hedging. That is how businesses operate. If you are paying cash instantly, you are losing the time value of money. And finally, privacy. This is the defensive shield. See, if a creditor or a lawyer or a crazy ex-spouse runs a check on my primary checking account, they see almost zero cash. I essentially look broke on paper. Now, obviously, I'm not actually broke. My cash is sitting safely in my high-yield savings account or in my business entity account, completely separate from that debit card. I only transfer exactly what I need, exactly when the credit card bill is due. My checking account, it's not a vault, it's just a hallway. Money passes through it, but it never stays there long enough to get stolen. My purchasing power is in credit lines they can't easily see and certainly cannot easily seize. A debit card connects directly to your honeypot. A credit card is a decoy. Why would you give anyone a direct line to your life savings? Now, I know what you're thinking. I can hear it right now in the comments. I can hear it in the whole section right now, typing furiously already. But Matt, Dave Ramsey says credit cards are bad. He says if I use a credit card, I'll spend money I don't have and end up living in a van down by the river. And look, if you have a spending addiction, if you cannot walk into Target without buying a kayak you don't need, then yes, listen to Dave. Cut up the credit cards too. Stick to the cash envelopes he recommends. But you are not a child. You're a homeowner. You're an investor. You are building a future. Dave Ramsey's advice is for people who have a bleeding problem. I'm talking to people who want to build a fortress. The banks have labeled you a consumer. They want you to consume their products, pay their fees, and take their risks. I want you to be a strategic operator. I want you to use their tools against them. You aren't crazy for wanting to protect your money. You're waking up to the fact that the system was built to extract wealth from you, not build it for you. So here's the new reality. You are not a consumer. You are an operator. We're going to treat your finances the way Jason Bourne treats his extraction plan, assuming nothing is safe. Trust no default setting. Build redundancies. You're going to make yourself legally unhackable. Here's the plan. 3 steps. Step 1, the surgery. If you haven't done it yet, do it now. Stop carrying the debit card. Take it out of your wallet, put it in a safe at home. Or better yet, call the bank and ask for an ATM-only card that cannot be used at a point of sale. Remove the temptation. Remove the risk. If a skimmer puts a device on a gas pump, let them steal Amex's money. Do not let them touch yours. Step 2, the war chest. You need to replace that debit purchasing power with credit purchasing power. But not just any credit. You want unsecured lines of credit. Business credit's even better. Why? Because they don't report to your personal credit report when you use them. You can max them out to buy a rental property, and your personal credit score stays at 800. It's like a secret weapon. This is how the wealthy operate. They use the buy, borrow, die strategy. They buy assets. They borrow against them. They never sell. You can't do that with a debit card. Step 3, automation. Set your credit cards to auto-pay full statement balance. This destroys the argument that credit is debt. If you pay it off every month automatically, you never pay a dime in interest. You get the rewards. You get the fraud protection. You get the float. And the bank gets nothing but transaction fees from the merchant. You win. They lose. That's the game. Listen to me. The financial world is getting more digital, more fast-paced, and more dangerous every single day. Hackers are getting smarter. Banks are getting stingier. You cannot afford to be the nice guy with the debit card anymore. You have to treat your asset column like a fortress. You have to put up tripwires. You have to dig moats. You're the type of person who doesn't wait to get blindsided. You're the type of person who sees the train coming and moves off the tracks. So cut the card. Use the bank's money. Let them take the risk. But here's what I've learned building this fortress around my own life. The hackers aren't the only ones trying to get into your pockets. Sometimes it's the HOA sending you violation letters. Sometimes it's a contractor who did garbage work and now wants to put a lien on your property. Sometimes it's a debt collector calling about something you don't even owe. And when that happens, you can either spend your weekends writing angry emails that go nowhere, or you can do what I do. You let an attorney handle it. One letter on law firm letterhead does more than 10 frustrated phone calls ever will. And that's exactly why I pulled this video out here for you to watch next. It's about how to get a legal team on retainer for a small monthly fee. So when someone tries to bully you with paperwork, you don't fight back yourself. You just hand it off, because a fortress isn't just about protecting your money. It's about protecting your time, your energy, and your sanity. So watch this one, and I'll show you how to make yourself legally untouchable.